In many parts of the world, female genital mutilation is a common practice that is deeply rooted in cultural and even in some cases, religious beliefs. The Borgen Project estimates that about 20 million girls and women in Nigeria have undergone female genital mutilation. But it is the 21st century and we're still hearing about it. How relevant is the practice, and is there a strong enough case to stop it? And how do we do this? This and more on Her Matters. Hello and welcome to Her Matters. I am your host. My name is Chioma Omero.
Culture of silence. Again, silence, because if you even try to say, oh, he did this to me, she did this to me, people then say, where's your proof? Are you sure?
Now, what I've seen is parents are not talking to their daughters and their sons. They are not talking to them. So when
people now think that if someone in the medical profession or in healthcare or in that field carries out the process, it would be safer.
The other part of it is the way we structured our healthcare system to actually selectively, remove these paid telemedicine vendors out of the entire health loop. We don't officially recognize them, but there's a significant role they have to play.
Hello and welcome to Her Matters. I am your host. My name is Chioma Omero. Her Matters is a talk show series that focuses on pressing issues affecting women across the world, shedding light on some of the most delicate subjects surrounding the health and welfare of women. Today we're going to be talking about female genital mutilation, FGM. It's a very heavy subject and there's a lot to unpack. And with me today is Rhoda Robinson from the Hasty Health Initiative. We're going to be talking a lot and learning a lot. Hello, Rhoda Robinson of Hasty Health Initiative. Thank you so much for being on Her Matters. I'm so glad we finally could get you to come on this show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
So this episode, I wanted us to address the issue of female genital mutilation because it's a tough one to talk about.
Yes.
I remember as a little girl hearing about it, and then I'm like, in this my big age where we are now, we're still hearing about it because it's still happening. So first of all, let's start with what you do at Hasty Health. What is Hasty Health Initiative about, and what do you guys do?
Okay, thank you so much, and thanks so much for having me on the show.
You're welcome.
I love the show. Okay, so first and foremost, Hasty is a non-profit.
Okay.
We are an organization that works on different development issues, primarily to ensure that the underserved population, especially women and girls, are able to live to their full potential and live healthy and productive lives. So basically, we work on development issues relating to health, empowerment, rights, environment. So basically, the sustainable development goals and ensuring that local communities and individuals who are usually left behind are able to benefit from the outcomes of development.
Is your organization, do you guys get to partner with other non-governmental organizations, or do you guys work independently, or are there with collaborations between you and other bodies, can be governments, other organizations, or anybody else?
Yes, definitely. You really cannot achieve impacts by working alone. Like, no man is an island, no organization can change the world by itself. So we work with a variety of stakeholders, from governments and government ministries, departments, agencies, to other non-profits, other social enterprises, private organizations, institutions, communities, everyone that has a similar goal of ensuring that we achieve development. So we work with all stakeholders at every level.
Okay. On this subject of female genital mutilation, FGM, as we like to make it an acronym, can you tell us, because we know what, and I think because the world has sort of like confused female genital mutilation with circumcising either a male or female. Now, when it comes to men or boys, we know what that process is. It is removing the foreskin of the penis in case of a boy, baby boy. Now, when it comes to women, what is
exactly
female
happens?
Genital mutilation? And please explain how it differs from circumcision with regard to just because I don't think a lot of us know what happens when
Yeah.
a girl is quote unquote circumcised.
Yeah. So I'm going to give like the definition, and then I'll try and describe it.
Okay.
So we have that picture with us.
Right.
Okay. So basically, female genital mutilation is any procedure done to females' genitalia, private parts, for non-medical reasons.
Okay.
So it's any cutting, shaving, pricking, nipping, anything whatsoever that is done to that part for non-medical reasons. So that's what female genital mutilation is.
Okay.
And there are different types depending on the severity. Now, we know a bit of biology, basically, and we have an idea what makes up the female genitalia on the outside.
Right.
So we have the clitoris, and then we have the labia minora, that's the smaller lip on the inside, and then we have the labia majora, which is the bigger lip on the outside. So for a type of female genital mutilation, they cut off the clitoris, that's that little knob that the wee comes out of. So they cut off the clitoris. For another type, the cut off the clitoris and the labia minora. Yeah. And then for another type, they cut off the clitoris, the minora, and the majora. So they just give a clean shave, and then they sew everything closed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, because we're both sitting here like we're both women. I'm like,
Yeah. So imagine nothing there. Yeah, there is literally nothing there. Just smooth skin and a hole to pee out of. And then sometimes, I can't say you're lucky, but sometimes it's not as severe as that. Sometimes they just cut off the clitoris and that deadens the area as well. So there are different types and different effects, negative effects that it has for a girl. Sometimes it leads to severe bleeding, infection, shock, keloids, swelling of the genitalia, reproductive tract infection, and things that are either short or long term. You might be able to deal with it at that point, but the effects might live with you throughout, or you might face that problem for the rest of your life.
wow. Wow. Okay, so for most of our lives, for decades, I mean, practitioners have always, talked about, the way these procedures are performed, have classified them as unhealthy.
Yeah.
That's for the most part. Many people are still committed to getting it done.
Yeah.
Now, first of all, what are some of those reasons that we are aware of, and what is and has Hasty Health is doing now to sort of help with stopping that, if possible?
Okay, so FGM, female genital mutilation, is, so we're just going to call it FGM.
Yes, let's just call it FGM.
So let's
better than acronym. Yeah, I don't want to think about anything being mutilated. It just brings up bad feelings. So let's just call it FGM.
Okay, so FGM is first and foremost a cultural traditional practice. So it's deep-seated in the way people and what they believe. So that's what drives people and drives the practice. And sometimes it's not dependent on when the person is educated or not. It's just based on wanting to continue a tradition or a practice that should have ended because it has no benefits whatsoever to the woman that it's been practiced on. So as an organization, Hasty has this project called the Stop Cut Project, which is supported by the United Nations Trust Fund to end violence against women and girls. So the project itself is looking at FGM and how policies, laws, awareness, and partnerships can lead to its elimination in the different communities. Nigeria actually accounts for a large percentage of FGM cases, and the areas where the project is being implemented in southwestern Nigeria account for the highest incidences of FGM in the southwest.
Wow.
So we are looking at over 50% of the female population being survivors of female genital mutilation.
Wow, over 50%.
Actually, we have, I'm actually being very nice at this point. So we actually have states that have up to 70% of the population. That's the prevalence rate. 70% of women and girls being survivors of FGM. And you will think that being woke, basically, like this is a woke generation.
We're a little bit more aware.
Exactly. We know what good is, we know what bad is. We are able to at least choose for ourselves.
Make proper judgments.
We still have a large, over 50% of new cases of FGM being practiced. In the last 50, because the Stop Cop Project did research on this area, and in the last 15 years, more than 30% of girls had actually had FGM done to them by either the parents, their guardian, their relative, or someone or the other. And it is still an ongoing practice, which we need to change, because when you look at the reasons behind the continued practice, it's not really justifiable. You'll hear things like, if you don't cut a girl, she might grow up becoming wayward. There is no correlation. Yeah, I had that same thought when I heard it. And then if you do not cut a girl, she might have problems giving birth, staying in a home. She might not be desirable. She might not give birth to a male child. Wait.
So somebody thought to themselves.
Yes, that was the reason.
That's a good reason to cut a girl, is she would not be able to have a male child.
Yeah.
Not her health, not her life, not her well-being.
No. So you see, those aspects are irrelevant in the grand scheme of things.
In someone's mind.
Yes, in someone's mind. So, but we also understand that this is what has been passed down from generation to generation. So they believe that if you do not practice it, that girl would not stay happily in her husband's home. Or when she does give birth to, I've spoken to, or I've interacted with the community, members of the community who say that the first child dies. No facts whatsoever related to that, but that if there's a high tendency of the first child being dead, if the head of the baby touches the clitoris on coming out, that child would die. So these are beliefs that keep propagating the continued practice. And the thing about FGM is that it's home-based. It's not something that it's out there. That's why it has existed and continued for so long into this 21st century, into the technology age, into the woke age, and it's still being practiced because it is passed from family to family. It's a family practice. Just like if in your family you wear the practice for you to wear a blue veil if you're getting married, and so it's a tradition that they just
over
keep
generation
on passing
over
it.
time.
And there's always someone that is a custodian
of
that.
Of these cultures and all these practices.
Exactly.
There's always one. Okay, so now the Borgen Project puts the number of women and girls who have undergone the procedure in Nigeria at about 20 million.
Yep.
So in a country of about 101 million people
and counting,
50% of that being women, that's almost 40% of all women in this country. Now, in these times, would you consider that number alarming?
Okay, so let me tell you what is alarming. That number is not a true representation of the severity of the problem.
Okay.
So it's the number that you can actually count, not the number that actually exists. Which is why when you said 20%, 20 million girls, women and girls, I said, and counting. Because it is projected or assumed that every year, 2 to 3 million girls are still at risk of being cut. Wow. So this keeps on going and happening. So as long as that practice exists in that community or in those communities or that culture, every girl born is at risk. So 20 million, 25, yes. And then some people look at it that those numbers, people have this way of looking at numbers that is like it's not real. So it's easier to put it as, so basically when you look at it as 40% of population, it seems like just a digit. That it's not really tangible.
Yes,
when you say 20 million women and
right.
girls, it's not really tangible. You can't really connect to it. But when you say statistics like 1 in 7 women that you meet has probably gone through female genital mutilation, one form or the other, that brings it closer to home. So you can actually see it as a visible problem
See it
that
as
is
people,
next
see
to
it
you. See it as the people,
a person that's
not a
gone through
number, because
something.
these are women and girls that have to live through this. Now, in communities where FGM is practiced, more than 80% of the time, it's done when a child is below 6 months. Yeah, so there's no input from that. It's
No permission,
not nothing.
Sort, nothing.
Nothing at all. And then you now have a higher, about 17 to 30% being done when they are below 15. So you can have girls, like I've spoken to survivors, that they clearly remember every cut, every blood that they shed, every scream that they heard and that they made themselves while being cut. So they remember it clearly, and it's stuck in their subconscious.
That's trauma.
So they live with this every day. And then you now look at what this actually does to that girl. We've had cases where women do not enjoy sexual activity with their partners. They do not enjoy it. It's a chore for them. They just want it because they feel nothing at that point. And then that puts a strain on the relationship. You've had instances where, because of the unchecked healing that happened, because when these things happen in communities, there's no anesthesia,
Right.
there is no anti-disinfectant that they tell
Somebody's
you.
holding you down.
Exactly.
What we've
Because
seen.
nobody would willingly do this. Nobody would willingly
Submit
see
themselves,
this and then submit
yeah.
themselves and say, yes, I want to do it, when they know it is not needed. So that is the key. Because we've had situations where people have been taught as they grow up that this is a rite of passage, that you have to pass through this. But once you open that narrative and they understand that this does not actually affect my future, and then having it done actually has a higher chance of negatively impacting what I could be, most girls would not do it at all. So it's not something that you willingly choose based on you having the right kind of knowledge. They don't do that. So then these girls have to live with that choice. We have people who have, because of family culture and all that, they've taken their daughters for circumcision.
And these are supposedly exposed
Yes,
people.
So there had been an incident when the family had brought their daughter back to the village to have a cut. It happens all the time. You would think that it's once people know about it, or that it would get better, but people do not just really understand what is at stake. In the survey that we had carried out, a lot of people, like more than 70%, know about FGM.
Yeah.
But what they know is the problem. Less than 20% actually knew about the negative consequences of FGM. They had no idea. Most of them just said, after the initial bleeding, everything would end. Because they are not the ones feeling it.
So that's what they're told. After the initial bleeding, everything will be fine. It'll be fine.
Never remember that happening.
Right.
Because what does a 6-month-old remember? A baby would never remember that happened. But that child would grow up, and then girls do not talk about those things. We don't talk about our private parts. So she would not know that something had been cut. Because while she was growing up, her mother most likely did not tell her anything about it.
Wow. Wow.
So there are different scenarios, different ages. We've had cases of where when a lady got married into a family, she was asked to undergo female genital mutilation before her first child is born.
Wow.
Yeah, as part of the family's tradition, coming from a family that does not practice it. So if in instance,
she was now made to?
Yes. So if you want to keep your marriage, if you want to stay married, and
yeah. Taroda, thank you so much for this information. I'm learning so much. So what we want to do is take a short break, because this FGM, that's why we made this a special one. So there's so much to talk about, so much to unpack, so much to discuss, so much more to learn. So we'll be back to learn some more about female genital mutilation. It is not circumcision, it is
not the
female
same thing.
genital mutilation.